Welcome everybody to the Carlette Christmas Show. Our guest this morning is a YouTuber and a social media guru who has garnered over 1 million plus followers. She's a doctor and she's talking about skin of color. It's a revolution. She has created so many products. They're all non-sponsored, which means she doesn't get paid to tell you about the best products for your skin. Now, you may be thinking women of color, that we're just talking about black women, black and brown women. No, we're talking about anyone who tans, their skin tans, and you have melanin in your skin. Our guest this morning is Dr. Vanita Rattan, aka Dr. V, and she's written a book entitled Skin Revolution, The Ultimate Guide to Beautiful and Healthy Skin of Color. Stay on point for the conversation. We're back right after this. Welcome everybody to the Carlette Christmas Show. This morning we're talking about a subject that we've never really dipped into, and that is skincare and beauty, but more specifically for women of color. And that doesn't just mean African American women or black women. It means all women who have melanin in their skin, and what products are right for us, and most importantly, what products are wrong for us. Our guest this morning is Dr. V, Dr. Vanita Rattan, and she is a global expert. She's written a book that is absolutely mind-blowing. It's entitled Skin Revolution, The Ultimate Guide to Beautiful and Healthy Skin of Color. All the way from London, England, she joins us. Dr. V, good morning and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. When I got the book, at first I thought it was just really about black women, but as I read more, it's for all women that have pigmentation or melanin in their skin. Before we start talking about that, tell me what kind of doctor you are and why did this become your passion?
So after I graduated from medical school, I did my MBBS at UCL. The first question, or a very common question that kept getting asked was, Nita, what do we do for hyperpigmentation? Friends and family would ask me the same question. And I started to investigate and I realized the vast majority of treatments for hyperpigmentation could burn skin of color and lead to more hyperpigmentation. And I couldn't understand why, when this is our number one skincare concern, we don't age badly. We generally, our skin is in pretty good health. But the thing that we suffer with is hyperpigmentation. Considering that there was no treatment for skin of color, I was in a very fortunate position. My parents owned a cosmetic laboratory. I then decided I was going to do an apprenticeship into cosmetics and see if I could figure out how to create a treatment specifically for hyperpigmentation in skin of color that was for dark pigmentation, stubborn hyperpigmentation, but didn't burn or irritate the skin. I think honestly, I probably went in a little bit naive, thinking it's going to take me 6 months and then, I would get on with the rest of my life. But it ended up taking me 5 years. And in that time, I accumulated so much knowledge that just wasn't available. What percentage retinol is good for skin of color? Is retinol better than retinaldehyde for skin of color? These are basic questions that we need to know the answers to. And so I took all that information and I put it into Skin Revolution. So the book we're holding today, I hope, will democratize skincare education for skin of color so that we have better access to knowledge about our skin. And so then do our children. So that's been my whole aim.
And so your parents own a laboratory.
Right. So they actually had their own cosmetics company. And I learned from their cosmetic formulator. And then I think I just became a lot more targeted on skin of color and producing products that didn't exist for skin of color that we needed. So, for example,
okay, before we talk about that, let's go back to hyperpigmentation, because women of color and some women of non-color will have hyperpigmentation. What is it? Why is it? And how can you fix it?
Right. So first of all, there's a distinction between people of color and skin of color.
Okay.
These are two different things.
Okay.
And sometimes people get confused.
Good.
The definition is, if you are more likely to tan rather than burn in the sun, you have skin of color. Guess what? That includes all Europeans. So Europeans who may consider themselves as having white skin, actually they have olive skin and they also get melasma. They also get hyperpigmentation on their cheeks and their forehead, but they may not associate as a person of color. So skin of color is actually a much larger percentage of the global population, where about 5/7 of the world's population has skin of color. Now, what that means is our melanocytes are larger. Those are cells that produce the pigment melanin. So I always say one scratch, one bite, or one burn, and we hyperpigment. This doesn't happen to Caucasian skin. And so this means we have to take a lot more care with our skin. We have to be a lot more gentle with it. And the vast majority of products can irritate our skin or burn our skin and lead to hyperpigmentation. So we have to be a bit more careful.
Okay, so once you're hyperpigmented, and I know that Black women in particular, as we're talking, making the distinctions, as we seem to age, we'll see the darkness on the cheeks, maybe around the nose area, just a total discoloration, darkness from the rest of the skin. And it could appear anywhere. What say you about that?
Right, there's a couple of things going on. With age, the rate of skin shedding becomes much slower. So when you're 5 years old, it takes 5 days for your skin cells to shed. By the time you get to 40 years old, it takes about 50, 60 days for your skin cells to shed. So that automatically means that you have duller skin as you age because you're not shedding as effectively as when you're younger. This means exfoliation is important. And for skin of color, we should always opt for chemical exfoliation with lactic acid and mandelic acid. Avoid physical scrubs or high strength glycolic acid because they can burn skin of color. You might be okay, but it can burn skin of color and lead to more hyperpigmentation. And for me, I have 0% tolerance for burns in skin of color. So that's why we say opt for chemical.
And
So
so
that's number one.
when we burn, do we know that we've burned? Is it obvious that you've
Yeah.
burned?
Yeah, you will feel pain. Skin of color should never feel pain. If we're feeling pain, that means inflammation is happening, and we have to be more gentle than that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. Number
Okay.
two is what's the cause of the hyperpigmentation? If it's acne, for example, we have to get our acne under control as well as treating the hyperpigmentation simultaneously. So this means that you want to use a category of ingredients called tyrosinase inhibitors. And that's a special category of ingredients that skin of color requires to calm down those melanocytes and help to bring them back to normal. So to be honest, I'd say all of us need tyrosinase inhibitors in our skincare.
Okay. Is that something that's prescribed or can it be purchased
over the counter? So alpha arbutin, vitamin C, or majority of us have vitamin C in our skincare already, vitamin A, green tea extract. There are many others, but these are the most common ones that you're going to find in your skincare.
Mm-hmm. And those are things that we need to use daily?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I would say vitamin C in the morning, vitamin A at night, bare minimum, the bare minimum.
The bare minimum. And so tell us about your passion for creating a YouTube channel that is viewed by hundreds of thousands and maybe even millions of people. And you decided, I'm not going to let any cosmetic company sponsor any of the commentary because I want a true actuation of what these products do for the skin. Let me take a break right here, but when we come back, I want you to flesh that out and talk about the global success that this has become. Dr. Vanita Rattan is our guest this morning. We're talking about the skin revolution, the ultimate guide to beautiful and healthy skin of color. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. This morning, we're talking about our beauty regimen. And are we really doing the best things for our skin? And the answer is probably no. We think sometimes, Dr. V, the more we spend, the better the product. Not so. But before you answer that question, I want you to talk about the global success of your YouTube channel?
Honestly, it blew me away. It was me on my mobile phone in my bedroom talking about products, and I couldn't believe, these some of these videos were hitting millions of views.
Yeah.
And for me, because this is what I do, reading ingredients lists, understanding percentage actives, is it effective? Is it cost effective? Is it purely a marketing gimmick? Is this thing even going to work? For me, it's just bread and butter. This is, what I do. Like someone else reading ingredients lists of a recipe. But when I started teaching this on social media and saying, listen, this product is a $200 product, it's not worth your money, don't buy it. Or this is a £10 product, it's brilliant for these reasons, percentages are at these, whatever it is, buy that. That really changed people's skincare. And because I'm non-sponsored and everybody's tried to give me money, every brand has tried to give me money, and I said no to everybody. I literally yesterday said no to having my own TV channel just because they said, if you want a TV channel, you're going to have to be sponsored. And I said, no. Saying no to sponsorship give me the freedom to be completely honest. Even if I can say, I like this cream, this could be tweaked. I can say that because no one's paying me and I can be completely truthful. And I think it's really rare. I don't know how many people on social media now aren't being sponsored.
And the
So then
goal
where are
is
people
to
supposed
be
to go?
sponsored. The goal is to be sponsored, but you knew that
Exactly.
sponsorship would skew your opinions.
Of course it will. You can't be really honest if you're being paid and that is your income. This is not my income. This is my passion. My income comes from my cosmetics that I sell for skin of color. So that is a completely separate thing.
Hmm.
And often I'll say, you know what, don't buy my thing. My thing's too expensive. My hyperpigmentation kit is not your first line treatment. It's very expensive. Start with the ordinary 2% alpha arbutin. It's cheaper. See if you get results with that. If not, you can upgrade. So I can be completely honest,
Hmm.
about everything because no one's paying me.
Right. And so, were you just blown away by the number of people that were connecting with what you've said, that people that had spent literally, I mean, it's a multi-billion dollar industry, the
Yeah.
cosmetic industry, and people are literally spending billions every year on skincare and
And I think there's a big
chasing the
shift.
fountain of youth.
Agreed. And I think there's a big shift happening where if I've done a video and I have said I don't like, 9 out of the 10 products, I will often get an email back from the CEO of that company. And they may ask, either they will want to have a conversation or they might be angry with me, or they'll say, okay, how can I improve? And if they do take that last tack, and I help for free. I will tell you exactly what you need to do to improve your formulas. I'll even come back and do a video for you if it's a good product for skin of color, because then the whole world needs to know about it. This big movement that's happening right now is movement towards fragrance free, which is essential for skin of color. Percentage actives are now being shown on labels when previously there was no information about how much retinol is in your product. And so there's more transparency because of channels like mine where you're almost exposing brands and then
Hmm.
they haven't got a choice but to step up and improve. So you're almost changing the whole landscape of cosmetics for all of us.
Okay, so let's talk about retinol. It has been hyped as, I mean, one of the best things that you can do for your skin. What should women that have melanin in their skin know about retinol?
Right. Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, I would opt for low percentage retinol because retinol is an alcohol and it can be very irritating. And for skin of color, it can lead to hyperpigmentation. So look for zero point 0.1 to 0.5% retinol. Don't go higher than that. I would avoid the 1% retinols. Number two, look for encapsulated. It should say that word, encapsulated, which means that that alcohol is now in a waxy bubble. And so you don't get that irritation on the skin. So you don't get that inflammation. And number three, do you know what's better than retinol?
Hmm.
Is retinaldehyde. Retinaldehyde works 11 times faster than retinol with zero irritation. So for skin of color, I'm always going to say retinaldehyde is better than retinol. It's just that there's so few products with retinaldehyde in the market that you almost have to use retinol. But again, I think watch over the next 12 months because I've spoken about it so much. you're going to start seeing more products with retinaldehyde in it 12 months from now.
Now, one of the things that you talk about is skin pores, the pores of the skin and oily skin. Many people with melanin in their skin are going to produce more oil. And so tell us about what we need to understand about that and those pores.
Okay, so what's happening is, imagine your pore is a little bit like a cup and sebum is filling this cup. What you want to use is salicylic acid at 2% to get into that pore to unclog it. It's a fat-soluble acid, literally just scoops out the pore. So I would just say you need one product if you have oily skin, and that is 2% leave-on salicylic acid.
And so should we be putting that all over? Because
Correct.
I use salicylic acid like only like if I'm going to have a breakout or a bump, and I'm going to put it right there. But you would suggest...
So if you have oily skin, you're going to want to control the oil. But if you have normal or combination skin, then it's not going to be worth you putting salicylic acid everywhere. You might just do it the week before your period, which is what I do. I switch up my skincare the week before my period, and now I'm going to get a spot. And I switch to an oily acne routine, which is your salicylic acid, your niacinamide, and your vitamin A, just the week before, if you want to prevent that, couple of spots that happen around your menstruation time.
And you write a lot about niacinamide. Tell us what it is and why it's important.
So niacinamide between 2 to 5% is the ideal range, and it is your best friend. You need it so if you have oily skin, it helps you control sebum. If you have dry skin, it improves your skin barrier. If you have sensitive skin, it helps you too. It's an anti-inflammatory. If you have hyperpigmentation, it also helps with the hyperpigmentation. So it's one of those ingredients that is just a no-brainer. It's the reason I put it into my mineral sunscreen for skin of color, is because we all need niacinamide in our routine. And a lot of us, don't want to be layering lots of products. Ideally, you want almost like a couple of products that pack a punch, have, all the cocktail of actives that you need, non-irritating, and at the percentages that you require. So niacinamide would be one of them.
Mm-hmm. And as we're talking about how to really be gentle with our skin, and a lot of us are not, especially if we have an irritation, we have a bump, we want it to go away, we pop it, and it's going to create a spot. Yeah. And so it's just hard to resist, keeping your hands out of your face. But
what I recommend are hydrocolloid patches. So you just pop it on the area where you've got the spot, and it stops you from touching it and introducing more bacteria to the area.
And what kind of patch is that?
They're called hydrocolloid patches. Mm-hmm. So I went to Walgreens, and there's a whole range of hydrocolloid patches. You can get little ones, big ones. They can cover the full area, and it just stops you from touching.
Uh-huh. And what I love about it is that you're really testing products for the veracity of the product, the truth of the product, and when people link into your book and into your channel, they'll be able to hear about any number of products, maybe that they were thinking about using or have used, whether they're working or not. Now, we kind of know if a product is working by the results that we get, but one of the things that you and I were talking about during the break is vitamin C. And I said, I thought of you this morning when I put my vitamin C on, and you immediately asked me, okay, how was it packaged? Why?
Because vitamin C is an antioxidant. It's highly unstable, and it oxidizes in oxygen. So you need to make sure that your vitamin C has no oxygen around it. That means packaging is essential. Pipettes are a mistake. Jars are a mistake. You want to go for airless pumps. So there's no oxygen around it, number one. Number two, it has to be opaque, so no light can get through, because it can also degrade the vitamin C. And number three, it should be in combination with other antioxidants in order to stabilize it. So if you're buying yourself just a vitamin C serum, that's not going to be effective. You want something that's got vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, coenzyme Q10, and other antioxidants in order to stabilize it. Otherwise, the problem is there's no magic that happens when you put vitamin C on the skin immediately, right? It's not like an exfoliator where you suddenly feel like your skin is glowing. So you're relying on this product working and assuming that it's working because it's expensive. But there's no visual cue for you to go, okay, this product is working. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And that's when knowledge comes in. That's when it's important to go, actually, this product is working because of all the three things that I've just said. I know the vitamin C is stable. Wow. And so this is why I think the book is quite important.
Absolutely. Let me get a quick break here, but when we come back, we'll break down some of the other products that Dr. V talks about that are important for our skin. But I also want to talk about sunscreen and its importance. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. This morning, we are going to school about what it is that we're putting on our face. If you have not connected with Dr. Vanita Rattan and her YouTube channel and her products, what are you waiting for? It is something that every woman of color that has any type of melanin in your skin, and you said it, Dr. V, if you tan at all, this puts you in that category to really understand what you're using on your face and what you shouldn't be using. Before we went to break, I asked about sunscreen, because now the move is to put sunscreen in your foundation, to sell you a sunscreen to put on before your foundation. What do we need to understand about the importance of sunscreen?
Okay, so the biggest mistake actually is sunscreen in your foundation.
That's the biggest mistake?
It's a big mistake. I'll tell you why. Usually sunscreen in foundation, maximum you're looking at 25, SPF 25, maximum.
Okay.
Now, on top of that, the amount of foundation you would have to wear in order to get SPF 25 is going to make you look like you're wearing a mask. And that's not what people do. People dot it on their face and then they blend it. They're not wearing nearly enough, right? What you want is quarter to half a teaspoon of mineral SPF 50 for skin of color. And it has to be broad spectrum. So SPF 50 relates to burning. Broad spectrum relates to your UVA rays. And it's your UVA rays that leads to hyperpigmentation and cancer. That's why it's important to look for that word broad spectrum.
Okay.
It's not enough even just have SPF 50.
Wow. Okay, so tell us about the sunscreen that you formulated.
Okay, so for skin of color, because hyperpigmentation is our biggest issue, I want to create an anti-inflammatory mineral sunscreen that treated hyperpigmentation simultaneously. So this is inzincable, and it took me a couple of years to create because it's very hard to make a zinc oxide based sunscreen, fragrance free, with niacinamide and no white cast. That was one of the hardest things ever. And there's a reason why nobody had done it previously, is because, you know, it's almost like you're putting a white powder into a suspension and then trying to figure out how to make it invisible on skin of color, which is, it's very difficult.
And so what was the secret for you? How did you figure it out?
It's the base, actually. It's how it's suspended, how you suspend the particles and how it's distributed in order to not give that white cast. Mm-hmm. Often they can clump together, and that's what leads to that white cast, is how you suspend the particles in the base fluid.
Mm-hmm. And so what I found was I was buying a lot of products, and to the point that you made about the vitamin C, didn't really know that, you know, the logistics of what that needed to look like. And then so I just started going to a dermatologist so that I could really find the scientific results, because I am a woman who has large pores and who picks at her skin if the time comes and I have a problem, and would get dark spots. I mean, really, really dark spots, and still had adult acne. So one of the products that you write about in the book is azelaic acid. And tell me about that, because my dermatologist recommended that, but I'm not seeing a real big...
Great results. I'm going to be honest, azelaic acid is not the most effective ingredient for us. Azelaic acid is fine for red marks post-acne, and it's good for rosacea skin or sensitive skin. Okay, so it's not
It's not really, to be honest, a key active that we're going to need. The key active Skin of Color requires is your tyrosinase inhibitors. So those are things like your vitamin C or vitamin A, green tea extract. We need exfoliators in order to get rid of dead, dull skin, in order to get that glow back. So we want lactic acid and mandelic acid in our exfoliator. We want to be, when we wash our face, we want to be washing with a very hydrating wash that also has humectants in it, so water magnets, because we have less ceramides in our skin than Caucasian skin. So we also need ceramides and peptides in our moisturizer. So there's just groups of ingredients that we need in order for our skin to be optimal. Mm-hmm. And it's not the same set of ingredients that Caucasians need.
And so here's where the slippery slope happens. We all need so much for the optimization of what we want our skin to look like. How do you create a regimen that's not over the top, where you're not using, 10 products? Because I only want to use,
Agreed.
I want to use 3 products. I want to use a face wash. Sometimes I want to exfoliate. I don't exfoliate all the time. I want to use a face cream for wrinkles. I want to use an eye cream and maybe a serum. Well,
correct.
That's about 5 things. So
that's 5, and that's a really healthy number. That's a lot of products, even. But what you basically want is each product to contain 5 to 10 actives each. That's how you do it. None of us have time. We're all busy people, juggling 100 things. We don't sit there time to do a 10-step skincare routine.
Right.
We want our moisturizer to have ceramides, peptides. We want a hyaluronic acid. I don't want a separate step for hyaluronic acid. Right. I want my hyaluronic acid in my moisturizer. Mm-hmm. I want all my tyrosinase inhibitors in my moisturizer and serum. I haven't got time to do 5 different steps of serums. Mm-hmm. So this is also important for us, is that for us, we require cocktail creams. Single actives just aren't going to cut it for us. And so as much as I love The Ordinary, and it's a brilliant, beginner's guide to getting some great ingredients, you will plateau with The Ordinary, just because, even they will say you can't really wear more than 3 layers before the 4th layer is not penetrating anymore. Mm-hmm. So if you have an actual skin issue and there's pathology there, then you want to get those cocktail of ingredients together. So, for example, having azelaic acid as one ingredient isn't going to do much. Do you know what I mean? So right. I think if we understand that concept, then everybody's going to have better skin, mm-hmm. and it's going to be much easier.
And, I just really want to speak to women with melanin, because especially for African-American women or Black women, we have this adage that Black don't crack, and that we don't wrinkle as much, and that this is true. But I think that sometimes it prevents us from creating a regimen, because we think that we have this melanin in our skin, we don't really have to do anything. And that really isn't true, is it?
Yeah, because actually we get hyperpigmentation instead. So this is an example of, if I was to create an anti-aging cream for someone with skin of color versus a Caucasian, you would have completely different actives, right? Mm-hmm. Because for Caucasians, they're worrying about wrinkling from their 20s. For skin of color, wrinkling tends to be something that happens much later. In fact, dull skin, hyperpigmentation, dry skin happens faster for us. So anti-aging is just looks different for us, and we need different ingredients. But sunscreen is something that will lead to hyperpigmentation and make us look older. So it's not that, wrinkles make us look older. It's dull, hyperpigmented, dry skin that makes us look older. Wow. And pores, open pores as well. So one of the reasons why pores look worse with age is because we have destruction of collagen that happens. And when collagen is destroyed, pores look larger. And that's why I recommend you start drinking collagen, marine collagen, 8 to 10 grams is what I recommend. Very good. And second thing is you want to use fat-soluble vitamin C. So tetrahexyl decaloscorbate, basically, that gets into the dermis to stimulate collagen. Okay. So it's one of the few things, that plus peptides, that will help to rebuild your collagen.
Wow. Let's take a break here, but when we come back, I want to talk about your products, how people can find you, and how they can connect to all of the resources, because it can be overwhelming. And so
Yes.
if you are not on a skincare regimen, you take it baby steps. But these are certain important facts that we all need to know to look, feel, and age gracefully. Stay with us. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. It's just been a great pleasure visiting with Dr. Vanita Rattan, and her book is entitled Skin Revolution, The Ultimate Guide to Beauty and Healthy Skin of Color. And it is the ultimate guide. It is so well put together. It's easy to read. And what I love about the book is that you don't have to necessarily read the book from cover to cover. You can read the book like a manual for what it is that you need and desire for your skin. Was that purposeful?
Absolutely. It's basically a textbook. It is, say you've got acne and you want to know, how do I treat my acne or my 13-year-old daughter's acne? You could just dip into that chapter. I'll tell you everything from the ingredients to use, how to layer it, the mistakes that get made, and then recommended products. And of course, every product that I recommend is non-sponsored and is based on percentage actives and whether the product works or not. And I tend to always opt for affordable products just because, who's got money to be spending on things that, aren't going to be any better for your skin, but you're spending the money on the marketing. So that's also important.
And I think that you're one of the rare specimens on earth that is not, promoting this product or that product. And when we first started, you talked about reviewing over maybe 200 products. Tell us about
brands,
about that process.
It was really overwhelming at the beginning because you always feel like you're Google Translate and you don't want to make any mistakes. You don't let anyone down. And it was a huge responsibility because no one else was doing it. And I didn't know how to do it. How would you break down something that's so complicated into a way that, my sister can understand it or my friend can understand it who, doesn't really understand these ingredients. And I found it really difficult at the beginning, but you know what? My followers were amazing. And they would say, Dr. V, can you actually do that again? And can you break it down in this? We didn't understand this. And they would educate me on how to teach them. So this is why I feel like we've created this incredible community online. I think we've got about 1.6 million followers now online. And they've taught me and held my hand throughout this whole journey. And if I'm wobbling or if I'm stressed or anything, they will also say, Dr. V, can you take a week off? You need to break down. Like, that's how much love I get from our people,
Wow.
It's amazing.
And so tell us about your kit and your products.
Okay, so I basically created my own daily range. So this is for my face. I wasn't meant to make this for anybody else. This is purely the products that I wish had been created for me. And for my skincare issues, I've got normal to combination skin. I get hyperpigmentation, I have dull skin, I'm getting wrinkles. Those are my skincare concerns. So I've got my own lab and I formulated my own products. And when I started investigating what was available on the market, I realized that actually my products that I made for myself didn't exist for the rest of the public. And so I did a very open video. I was not even going to make this. And I said, this is what I do. This is my 5-step routine. Do you want these products? And it was overwhelming. Yes. And so I went on to manufacture the products and, we just keep selling out because it's a range that's got everything we need, up to all our tyrosinase inhibitors. There's no thinking required. You just follow the steps and you've got everything that you need, and it's just convenient and affordable, which is what I wanted. Mm-hmm. So touch wood, I think we've been very blessed.
Absolutely. When you were a young girl, Indian girl growing up, did you feel that void early on of cosmetic companies not serving you?
I kind of went through that phase where we all got blue contacts and dyed our hair blonde and, wore foundation that was ridiculously light. So I don't know if I suppose that on some level you do feel it, but you're just trying to fit in. And I'm from England and I went to a Caucasian school. one of the best schools in the country. I'm blessed with the education I had, but I really did not fit in at all. I was very lonely. It was quite difficult. And so you're just sort of, trying to look kind of similar to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think you feel it at some point, but I think later is when you really reflect more. To be honest, at that point, you're just trying to survive, aren't you? At the high school, you're just trying to get through it and get into medical school. You're not really thinking too much. But now I feel like I'm empowering my daughter. So my daughter's 9 and she started her own cosmetics company. And it's the first ever eczema balm. We made it for my son, and we cleared his eczema in 3 weeks. And she said, "Mummy, we need to make this for other children." And I said, "Sina, it doesn't really fit with what I'm doing. But if you want to have your own brand and you want to formulate products for your generation, then I will help you do it." And she's so excited. We launched literally 2 days ago for her, and I'm just hoping that we have people now, role models, at different stages, that we no longer need to feel like we have to fit in with other people, and we can now get what we need for our skin at affordable prices.
Wow. How exciting was it for your family to be able to get rid of your son's eczema with a product that was actually healthy?
I know. Honestly, I think my daughter was the most excited. Actually, it was her. She was the one that I normally formulate products for my family. If my husband needs something, or for me, it's nothing. It's like like someone else is cooking in the kitchen. For me, it's like I've got 2,000 ingredients in my lab, and I'll just make something. So for me, it's not that much of a big deal. But for her, it was like life changing, and seeing that in her eyes just made me go. Sienna, I said, no matter what people tell you that a 9-year-old girl, Indian girl, can and cannot do, you go and do it. You go and start your business. You make it a huge success, and don't worry about what society thinks that a little girl can and cannot do. Because this is another thing that I think happens to women, is you get put in a box, and you're not allowed to dream big. And I said, dream so big. Help everybody. Help millions of people.
I love it. So tell people, Dr. V, before you have to go, how they can subscribe to your channel, how they can tap into just watching you, and I mean your brilliance and your ability to relate to all of us in layman's terms and give us the ingredients and the vitamins and all of the things necessary to build a great skincare regimen.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and it's at Dr. Vanita Rattan for all 3. That's usually a good place to start, because then you're getting information for free and you can decide whether or not you like the information. If you want more information, then you can get the Skin Revolution book, which is available on Amazon. And yeah, Touchwood is doing, I'm really happy with the reviews. And that's a really great place. And then after that, I would say start cheap, buy the cheapest products that I'm recommending, which is often not mine. Start cheap, and then if they don't work, then you can upgrade, and I will teach you as you go along that journey. So I hope that basically covers everybody, from children all the way to postmenopausal skincare, hair care, and just gives us everything that we need.
Absolutely. And that's another layer, menopausal skin and what happens to our hair. And that's certainly for another day. But we have agreed that we're going to do an acne summit. So our listeners and our viewers can be looking for that. In the meantime, they can follow you and get this incredible, I won't even call it a book. It is a manual, a guide that women of color can look to for good, honest information on how to show up with their best face, literally.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Dr. V, thank you too. I look forward to many more conversations.
Wonderful.
Hey, everybody, stay with us. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to the Carlette Christmas Show. We'd like to invite you to follow us on our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'd also like to invite you to follow Dr. Vanita Rattan, aka Dr. V. If you're concerned about your skin, your pores, oily, dry skin, hyperpigmentation, any of those things, I would encourage you that this is a guide that you must pick up. It's entitled Skin Revolution. It's about growing older, looking great, having healthy skin. Thank you for spending maybe the very first part of your morning with us. The reason why we do it is simple. We love you and we love information and we love sharing information. Mahatma Gandhi said it. I do too. We can all be the change that we want to see, but it does start with each of us, you and me. For the entire crew and team of On Point Media, stay safe and well. God willing, we'll see you right back here next time.